Hey guys, I guess we're live on YouTube right now. So, hey, welcome back. Jerry James here with DubTown Bullies. It's been a minute. Uh, Decided to go ahead and change the name back to just DubTown Bullies and forget. I mean, we may talk about bourbon and beards and barbecue at some point, but honestly, I really wanted to flip the channel back to just talk about our breeding program, what current events, what we got going on, where we're headed, information like that. Just simply because that's really the focus of the channel. The other stuff, well, the beard looks like garbage right now. Um, didn't style it or anything today, so it looks like crap. Uh, Bourbon, I just drink it every day. You know, I don't collect bourbons anymore because I raise dogs and I can't do both. Um, so I'm really not heavily into, buying bourbons and testing them and looking at reviews and things like that. I'm not as immersed in the bourbon world now as I used to be. Um, you know, so and that's okay. Now barbecue on the other hand, um, let's see. I'm gonna jump on Facebook here just for a sec on my laptop. Barbecue, I am doing more of that um, now that I actually have a bigger smoker for the first time in quite a while. No, I won't be divulging any of my secret recipes. However, I will be talking about how to select, pieces of meat, trimming, preparation, mostly, mostly setup and processes. And really and I just want to get off into barbecue here just for a second. Hang on, I'm going to post something here on Facebook right quick. If I can. If I can, it's taking forever. Heck. Wow. George Leanne, hi, I'm doing well, thank you. I don't know why I can't post anything on Fake Book right now from my laptop. That's kind of weird. Try it again. Uh, I'm not really sure what's going on. So anyway, with the barbecue and stuff, we'll talk about maybe some process stuff, things like that. But that's not really the focus. Um, oh, here we go. All right, so maybe that'll drive some more, a little bit more traffic to the live here. But anyway, so what I want to do is I want to talk about. Let's see, let me ratchet that up there just a little bit. What I want to talk about right now is the breeding of Champion Buster to our girl DubTown Genesis. Um, She's going to be given. We're going to be going in for a C-section this week. Thought she was going into labor last night. I guess turned out to be a false alarm. We went in for reverse progesterone this morning. She was at a 9, so we're fine there, right? So it looks like, based on where things are at, we'll probably do the C-section on Wednesday or Thursday, probably maybe latest Friday. So anyway, puppies are imminent. There are at least 6. So what I wanted to do is kind of just reach out to you guys, do a little live here, talk about the breeding. Thank you, John. I appreciate it. Appreciate you being new. This has been a long time coming for us. Buster is, Buster is a 17-inch standard dog with big bone, big chest, bigger head, 17 inches with a legit 26-inch head. He weighs between 85 and 90 pounds. Became a champion last year. We don't show a lot, to be honest with you. We maybe hit 4 shows at most a year. We've only shown once this year, and we've not shown in ABKC at all. The only other time we showed, really, especially with Buster, is just to support another show, get people to see him, that kind of thing. God, dog it. Hang on, guys. I'm still here. I got to go check the front door. Y'all hang on just a second, okay? All right, I apologize, guys. I'm back. Thanks for hanging in there. We had the UPS at the front door anyway. But anyway, hey, we're back. So anyway, Buster's already had, Buster's had 1 litter. I really like the results. The results have been pretty nice. Pictures I've seen of the dogs, that kind of thing. One of the unique things about Buster, and I would also say one of the reasons why he's not super popular, is that, Buster, phenotype-wise, is a modern representation, if you will, of old blood dogs. Buster has 4 crosses to Dax, but he's mostly an old school dog. So with let's see, and I'm looking at here. So 5 times Bistro, 2 times Nationals winner of the bus. Then we get into a lot of the other real old stuff back through there, and we can go through it. But and you guys can be sure to look on my Facebook page, just under Jerry James. Okay, it's got a picture of Buster on there. You can go on there and you can look at a lot of his pictures and things like that. He's an impressive dog. Loves to show. Great attitude. Never had a bad day. Very willing temperament. Does whatever I ask him to do without being grouchy or that kind of thing. Just a wonderful dog. And temperament is often overlooked when it comes to breeding, and should not be. He's got a marvelous temperament, very gentle dog. I mean, now he is a stud. He don't take no gruff, but he's a super, he's a sweetheart. Got a beautiful headpiece, um, as you'll be able to see from his pictures. Very much a modern headpiece. Not to mention the size of it. But so if he passes that along, we're gonna be in really good shape. So, Buster's a super dog. You know, um, but just mostly an old school pedigree. Like I said, four crosses to Dax. That's it, and all on his mother's side. Basically, what they did was they outcrossed the bus to Dax females or Dax line type females, and so you end up with four crosses to Dax. So, but and look, I don't mind Dax a little bit, right? But I don't have really any dogs that are weighted way too heavily uh, to that side, and there's a big reason for that. First of all, I don't want my dogs to look like bulldogs. Um, and there are inherent health issues with dogs that carry a lot of Dax blood, whether you like it or whether you don't. Uh, any dog whose phenotype more closely resembles bulldogs and where they're breeding heavily, towards the bulldog phenotype, you're just going to get more health issues because bulldogs aren't the healthiest dogs in the world. And so we really shoot a little bit more for you know longevity, increased lifespan, and overall healthier dogs. So let's talk a little bit about Ginny. Okay, Ginny was produced in my first litter. Um, she is a grand champion chicken and waffles daughter. Chicken and waffles is as you might conclude, is a Waffle House son. Um, and you guys bear with me because I have an absolute terrible um, memory. Can't even remember on my own dog's pedigrees really. So what we'll do is Chicken and Waffles' mom was a dog named Last Dance with Mary Jane. Now, Last with Mary Jane was a fantastic Reed, Mr. Fantastic, also known as Reed, son, who was a bistro son. So, Last Dance with Mary Jane is a bistro granddaughter, and then her female line goes back to Diego's Doing Big Things. And she is out of our very own, or our, maxed out bullies bred her. I bought her as a puppy. Champion Maggie. Maggie was my first show dog, and also our very first champion. And so her sire line goes back directly to Big Red. And if you're familiar with it, Champion Real Deal's Constellation Lyra. And then on her mom's side, her mom is Maxed Out Bully Shatter, who is a Bully Market Black Phoenix daughter. Now, Black Phoenix, mom is a Bistro daughter, and that Bistro daughter was bred to Phenom and to produce Bully Market's Black Phoenix. And then on the very bottom line, what we have is a bunch of old dogs that go back directly to Paco. So, Maggie was about a 50-50 dog, okay? So, 50% Dax blood and 50% old school dogs, okay? So really this is not this particular breeding is not a line breeding, but you could do two things with this. You could take this and go breed more to the Dax side of things and not have to worry about going too far. Happy birthday, Troy. You can make sure and not go, what's up, Eric? Not go too far, Um, too heavy with the Dax blood. So I'm saying you could use a line bred Dax dog on these puppies, and not get the inbreeding coefficient too high, or you could still go with the old blood, and have a very high percentage old school type dog. So you could kind of do you could kind of go either way with this. Um, so Ginny um, is a pocket dog. She's 15 and a half inches tall. She was my pick of the litter. Beautiful little blue tri dog. Super sweet. Did well in the show ring, but just didn't really enjoy it. So she had one major. Um, I think one major and 50 points, so a third of the way to champion before we quit showing her. She, like I said, she just didn't enjoy it. Where like Buster loves the show ring. He likes to get out there and do his thing. So I look at this as just a real good, solid breeding with a good deal of genetic diversity, which is not a bad thing. Um, Both dogs are very, very compact frames, so there'll be no long backs here. Uh, shouldn't be any long backs here, with this breeding. So what we should have is we should have puppies with moderate to big heads, moderate to heavy bone, short backs, um, just good quality little pups, right? To take your breeding program, maybe help develop it, take it, you know, help provide some genetic diversity for those programs, who've been focusing, a lot on the brim, the grim, the Roccos, that kind of thing, without losing, not losing the phenotype of the modern dog, right? I mean, the bigger heads, the heavier bone, that kind of thing. And so, um, I just think it's going to be a really good blend. And, I mean, the proof's going to be in the pudding, right, guys? Puppies show up, when they start developing and everything, then we'll get an idea of how we did. No breeding is guaranteed, and I'll never make those statements. I think it's just a good, solid breeding with, with proven grand champions and champions scattered throughout this pedigree and up close. Buster sire line goes, um, Buster sired by Grand Champion Boogie Nights, who was sired by Grand Champion Kane, right? And then Buster himself is a champion. So, um, champions, grand champions up close, good quality dogs up close. Matter of fact, you can go onto my Facebook page, and I did a little collage of all of the dogs that make up the first two generations in the pedigree, so you can actually get a visual idea of without say like if you didn't have Bully Petey or something like that, you can actually get a good visual idea of the quality of the dogs that are behind the names on the pedigree. And I'll be coming out with a breeding banner here in the not too distant future and everything. We'll go, before I go rolling doing all that stuff, want to make sure that the puppies are born and everybody's okay, that kind of thing before we get and actually, once they get past 2 weeks, then we'll really, we'll get the breeding banner done, and we'll start kind of, rolling with advertising and stuff like that. Won't take any deposits until after 4 weeks. Most of you guys know why. There'll be non-refundable deposit. Obviously, when you put a deposit on a dog, takes that dog off of the market, therefore withdrawing it from any other possible potential sale. And so the breeder, if someone backs out, then the breeder must be fairly compensated for the lost opportunity. And sometimes it's just fair, right? So non-refundable deposits. Okay. So another thing, there will be no breeding rights to any males from this litter. The only breeding rights will be to females. Okay. Um, Maybe at some point there might be, there might be a Buster son available or whatever, but not at this time. So keep that in mind. Now, if you want a pet and we have a male or two, then that's a great opportunity for you to get a pet. One male is already spoken for. This is not going to be a big litter. We've confirmed 6 via x-ray. So better get in where you fit in, because we're going to keep one, guys. One is already promised. That only leaves 4 available for sale. And we don't know what the makeup of those puppies will be, whether they will be males, whether they will be females. So we should know that by the end of the weekend. So we'll be able to update you on that. But they will not be cheap, but they will be fairly priced. I don't think anybody expects dogs of these caliber to come cheap. I feel like people have an expectation of fairness. I've been in this almost 5 years, so I'm not what you would call a brand new breeder, but I'm not what you call somebody who's been around for a long time that's really well established. A lot of people know me. A lot of people know what I stand for. But we have not produced a lot of dogs. And so, with that respect, I feel like dogs, should be fairly priced. I mean, I always paid what I could best afford, but my price range was always, what I could afford was $2,500 to $4,000, and I even had to make payments on some of those dogs and that kind of thing, and that's all well and good. So, that's about the price range that these dogs will be. Pets, no breeding rights, that kind of thing, $1,500. The rest anywhere from $2,000 to $4,000, right? So it's just going to depend on if you want a show quality dog or if you just want a brood stock female. But all will be priced fair. Yeah, Eric, I just mentioned that. So no, there won't be anything. There won't be anything that's $5,000 here. The top second pick female will be no more than 4,000, depending on whether she's a show quality dog or whether she's a brood stock dog. Okay, so I try to be very fair. Dogs need to go to loving homes. We want to make the dogs accessible for people. That want an American Bully. We're not going to be now. I have a breeding going on in November with Bella and a dog that I won't announce right now. Those dogs will be priced $5,000 to $7,500. Okay, there's a reason for that, and we'll talk about that at a much later date. But I think that these dogs will be priced extremely fair, and so we'll just leave it at that. Okay. Why should you buy a dog from DubTown Bullies? Well, I think most people that already know me, but for those of you that don't, I focus very much on health and conformation. And all of our dogs around here can actually do something. They move. They don't have breathing problems. They're not overdone. Okay. And here's the reason why our dogs are not overdone. We breed for show dogs. Okay. I am a show dog breeder. So I breed for balance, for structure, for breed type. Okay. But I also utilize a high percentage non-bulldog type blood for longevity. Okay. Do I have some bulldog type blood? Well, obviously, yeah, I do. We got Dax in there, right? I've got, we've got some Rocco, we've got some Grim, in our program, but seeing's how I help. I'm in Oklahoma, Big Dog 420. Seeing's how I help people with inbreeding coefficient analysis, consultations, and things like that. I model all of my breedings and everything to make sure that our inbreeding coefficients are very responsible, so that we can have a better chance of having, that hybrid vigor, the health that goes along with it. I do believe in line breeding, um, up to a certain point. This is a very light, um, line breeding. It's not a complete outcross, but it is a pretty low inbreeding coefficient. Uh, at least on paper. Now you never know until you do an embark or wisdom panel, that kind of thing, exactly what the inbreeding coefficient is. I would guess, that let's see, let me take a look here, guys, just right quick. Breeding, trial mating, 93, 96, 2. So I would bet that the genetic inbreeding coefficient on this litter is probably going to be somewhere between 7 and 10%. So that's what we're, so that's what we're looking at. So, um, Maggie, who is Ginny's mom, or was what is Ginny's mom, but she was a very vibrant dog, uh, very healthy dog. Never went to the vet, except for routine stuff. Was never sick. Didn't have allergies. Breathed well. High energy. Super sweet though, uh, but good drive. Just a wonderful little dog. Maggie was only 13 inches tall, so she was just a little ball of muscle, but she was quite the little pistol, but she was super sweet. Jenny is very calm, laid back, um, whereas her two sisters are a little bit more like Jenny. They're a little bit more wound up, a little bit more drive. Jenny's just a super sweetheart. Got a wonderful temperament. Like I say, she's 15 and a half inches tall, so much bigger than her mom. She's a deep-bodied female, very, very short back. Um, Really, what she did was they kind of, they most of the dogs in that litter really kind of took, um, chicken and waffles, headpiece, the big deep chest and things like that, and then took Maggie, how compact she was, and kind of put those two things together. So we have very compact dogs that look fat, but they're just so deep chested, you know and so they're little tanks. Okay, so I just expect some. I really do expect some real bully little dogs out of this litter. But again, I'm never going to blow smoke up anybody's ass, and I'm just going to tell you like it is. We won't know till we know, right? We'll start seeing that about 6 weeks, what they look like. We'll get some pictures out there, give people, we'll get them stacked and everything, and, people can decide for themselves, right? Which, I mean, obviously, people always do decide for themselves whether that's a dog for them or not. But here at DubTown Bullies, we do focus on longevity, on health, mobility, just, you know, just an overall, all around dog. I don't breed for extreme, I breed for balance. And so, that's kind of what we're about here. Just trying to breed good, solid dogs that people can love and enjoy for 10 years or more. That's really the goal. A lot of the lifespan of the American Bully and a lot of our more popular lines has declined to about 8 years or less. And in a lot of ways, I mean, I'm being generous with the 8 years. It really has almost become a 6 years or less, and these dogs, yeah, these dogs ought to live at least 12 years, and so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to we're trying to breed dogs that live. Um, have the longevity that the old dogs used to have, while also bringing those dogs a little bit more into the modern phenotype, I guess, in some ways. We do have one old school dog here on the yard. She's bred to Buster right now as well. We won't know for, let's see, we won't know for another month, whether she took or not. But if she did, then we'll get back on here. We'll have another discussion about what's available, coming off of that litter. If my girl's 22 inches and 120 pounds, boy, Eric, you know I don't know nothing about nothing about XLs, bro. Let me give you a good piece of advice, though. I guess if you want to stay, if you want to stay in the XL world and everything, but you just want to bring her down from 22, then you're not saying how far you want to bring her down, but if you want to bring her down to standard, if you want to just bring her down to short XL, but I would find me a big 18, 19-inch standard dog that's got good breed type and good size. And I won't say there are plenty of them out there, but there are some good choices out there. Um, and that's what I would do. I guess if I were in your shoes. But so that's kind of the scoop on that. I'd probably still do the same thing. Uh, 22. Yeah, I'd probably look for an 18-inch standard, um, to start with. And look, it may take you a couple of generations to kind of to shrink that line down a little bit if that's what you want to do. Um, but so that's just a half-ass educated guess there, buddy. But anyway, um, I expect some great little pups. You can expect, you know, you can expect some, fair prices, honesty. You don't have to worry about getting scammed here at DubTown Bullies. There's no motivation to do such a thing. I have plenty of references people can tell you that I'm a man of my word and I'm a man of integrity. So you don't have to worry about any of those things. Um, if you want to give me, you can hit me up on Messenger, on Facebook. Shoot me a message if you want to. If you want to shoot me a text message, and I know this is going to be weird, I live in the state of Oklahoma, but my phone number is 786-559-4384. Feel free to shoot me a text message, with any questions or, specific details or, something like that. If you want that information, I'll be happy to, answer questions for you. But anyway, I kind of just wanted to get on here briefly, give you an insight to what we got going on. Why choose DubTown Bullies? Um, I do always try to use a high percentage of old school dogs that favor, the Stafford, come out of the pit bull, Staffordshire Terrier lines. Now, we've got a lot of West Coast gaudy blood, and as we know, a lot of the dogs out of the West Coast, like everything else, we know it had some bulldog in it, but um, we just try not to go too heavy with Dax, just because of known health issues with Dax, bad hips, heart murmurs, things like that. And look, any dog can have issues with hips and heart murmurs. Those lines were just known to have those issues. And so, if I use a dog that's got some Dax blood and stuff, I try to make sure that it's got a lot of other old blood to kind of balance that out, right? And so, we do embark test our dogs, and we've got no major issues around here. So you can expect can expect a healthy dog and uh, and a good breeder to stand behind them. And so that's kind of my spiel for today, guys. It ain't fancy, but look, I'm not a fancy guy. I'm just pretty straightforward. Just tell you, here's the deal. Here's what here's what you can expect. Here's what we're gonna do. Uh, we do have purchase contracts, for the dogs, puppy contracts, that kind of thing. I do expect you, if you buy a dog from us, to do what you say you're gonna do with the dog. Right? Be honest about what you want, and don't overcommit. And I'll bust my tail to make sure that we hold up our end of the bargain. So we want to find these dogs. Obviously, we want to find these dogs good homes. So, and I will be. I'll be checking your background. Expect me to ask questions. That kind of thing. So, fair is only fair, right? So, anyway, I appreciate you taking the time to tune in today to get the update on Miss Ginny. Like I said, she was at a 9 on the reverse progesterone today. Best guess, she will probably go on Thursday. But again, maybe Friday. So, we'll stay in touch. Please give me a follow on Facebook. And that's where I make most of all of my announcements and everything. And check us out there. Okay? So, y'all be cool. We'll check you next time. Have a good day. All right, guys. I got to figure out how to stop this damn thing. Maybe we just... Okay, yeah, we're going to stop streaming. Bye, y'all.